morning. This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and I'm in Bramley for an update on the situation here following the highly disruptive underground petrol leak from tanks at the garage located at Bramley Crossroads in the back of this shot. I'm with Helen Melia of Bramley Residents Action Group and Jill Longdon of the Bramley Business Network. Helen and Jill, thank you very much for giving your time to the Guildford Dragon for this interview. If I could come to you first, Helen, can you summarise what has happened since the public meeting in mid-July?
Well, since July, Martin, very little has happened other than Asda has reopened the petrol station, which happened on Thursday.
Yes, we've got all the road traffic to compete with here, but very little has happened since that meeting.
Very little else has happened. There was a lot of talk at the meeting about finding alternatives for the telecom situation that's quite dire in Bramley, but nothing much has happened.
And what compensation is being offered to households?
Well, households have been offered less than £1 a day, Martin. Thames Water think that £30 account credit is adequate compensation for the 618 households who had no water for 5 weeks. Asda initially offered £25 to spend in the Asda store, but that's just nothing. It doesn't recognise the inconvenience and the lack of amenity and the additional expense that we've had.
And Jill, if I could come to you, what's been the impact on the business community in the village?
It's been truly devastating, Martin. With the disruptions we had with non-stop traffic jams, many of the businesses are struggling to stay above water. One business has gone that we know of, and several of our other businesses are struggling and may not renew their leases, which would be a tragedy for them and our villagers.
And what compensation have they been offered?
Well, Asda has offered the Bramley support scheme for businesses, which it says will get businesses back financially to where they were if the fuel leak hadn't happened. Now we're in the process of making those claims via Sedgwick's, their appointed loss adjuster. We haven't had any results yet, so until we know whether the claim matches the payout, I can't say whether it's a good thing or not.
Okay, and Helen, there are also some remaining concerns over health issues, aren't there?
That's right. We're all very concerned about the long-term effects of petrol in the water, and there don't seem to be anybody coming forward to give any evidence about it or any studies or funding any studies into that. How long were we drinking this water that's contaminated with petrol?
And a question for both of you, what do you both think as residents of the decision to open the Asda garage despite the vote taken at the public meeting, which in my opinion was almost unanimous, that the nearly 200 residents there did not wish it to reopen?
Well, Martin, I think the vote at the meeting when Stuart Rose asked whether Asda should open was a resounding no. And I personally think that it's disrespectful to the people who took the time out to go to that meeting and give that opinion to now just reopen the petrol station without coming back in September as he promised and discussing it again there.
Is the business view the same on that, Jill?
It is. The business view, is fair to say, is mixed. But on the whole, the businesses are glad to see the petrol station tidied up, the barriers down, and hopefully showing that Bramley as a whole is back in business. However, we do feel that now their business is thriving, ours needs to be as well.
Okay, now there was a lot of talk at the meeting about getting things done. Are things progressing in your view?
No, I don't think they are, Martin. As a community, we're not being told of any progress. There's still pavement works behind us. That's Openreach venting their chambers, where obviously they tell us they still have unsafe levels of petrol and vapour in their chambers and ducts. At the meeting, EPS on behalf of Asda said that they would be digging further boreholes, but we don't know the results of what they're finding in those boreholes, where they're finding petrols, what's involved. still don't know how much petrol has escaped or where exactly it's gone to. The general idea is it's kind of gone over there, but you know, from a community perspective, very little is happening at all.
And that must be worrying the business community too, Jill.
It's totally concerning. We still haven't got active internet in all our businesses. We've got 4 businesses on the high street alone without proper connectivity.
And this is because the infrastructure has been affected and the inspection chambers can't be accessed safely in
Yes,
Openreach's
that's
view.
right. Openreach do not want their engineers to go into the shafts because of the levels of vapour in the shafts. This means that businesses who lose their internet are being given dates well into 2025 before they can be replaced. And as you must understand, any business in this day and age needs internet to survive.
And Helen, it must also be a worry for residents because we all rely on these communications for sometimes life and death issues if you're calling an ambulance. Do you know of any examples where that's happened?
Yeah, that's right. It's affecting a lot of residents. We have 2 elderly residents in the village who have no landline, no internet, and they sadly had to call an ambulance a week or so ago. And the paramedics arrived. They had to use the neighbours to call the ambulance, and then the paramedics were not able to get a signal through their mobile phones to actually contact the hospital, and the poor chap was taken to hospital.
Okay, well, ladies, thank you very much for your time. And just to remind watchers, there is another public meeting for people in the village in September. That's correct, isn't it?
Well, we were promised a public meeting in September by Stuart Rose, but so far no date has been set by ASDA for that return meeting.
And Stuart Rose is the managing director of ASDA.
He's the chairman.
Chairman.
Chairman
Okay.
of ASDA.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.